about talking about what's called reparatory justice, a phrase that appears in paragraph 22 of the final communique of leaders. It does not mean money is going to be paid, but it does mean a conversation is going to go on. What does it mean to the Foreign Minister of the Bahamas, Frederick Mitchell, who joins us on the line? You may remember he joined us a few days ago and said that he was confident that once the conversation got going, he knew where it would end. Well, morning to you, Mr. Mitchell, from London. What do you feel now?
Well, again, I promised that there would be this respectful conversation and agreement to the conversation, and our own Prime Minister, Philip Davis, spent a lot of time with your Prime Minister discussing this. They've been friends for a long time. And so there was no surprise in the sense that this paragraph emerged, paragraph 22. What we were hoping was that there would also be the addition of the declaration, but that has fallen away. And there's going to be a future conversation. I think first there's going to be the UK CARICOM Forum, which will take place in March in London. That's going to come up with a comprehensive report on this issue. And then the hope is, our Prime Minister's hope is, that there will be a summit between the CARICOM countries and the UK to discuss the nature of the report and what the report means going forward. But, you know, as I said...
Our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer's clear, and I quote in his news conference at the end of what's called CHOGM, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, none of the discussions have been about money. Is that right?
Well, no figure. But, you know, again, as I promised, you start from a position of, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. And then things evolve, and so that's why the discussion and the beginning of the discussion is very important. I referenced, of course, the whole situation of the decolonization in Kenya and the British position they weren't going to provide compensation for the atrocities during the Mau Mau rebellion, but ultimately William Hague stood in the Parliament and £19.5 million were paid. So that's the past, and we'll see what happens going forward. But I think everybody coming out of this wanted to...
You've read your fair share of these sorts of communiques. You've probably written your fair share of communiques in the past. I've reported on a lot of these things in the past. I've rarely found one that is quite so difficult to understand. The time has come for a meaningful, truthful and respectful conversation towards forging a common future based on equity. Am I being harsh in saying that means not very much at all, really, is it?
I think behind the language is an intent to go in a particular direction. Everybody staked out their positions. I think people wanted to tone down the rhetoric publicly coming out of the meeting, the Commonwealth being the kind of organization it is. But again, I have no doubt, to use Martin Luther King's expression, that the arc of history always goes in the right direction.
What do you say, though, to those who say that there are people who maybe moved from the Bahamas to the UK in recent decades? Why should they pay higher taxes? Why should someone in a low-paid job pay higher taxes in order to subsidise people in the Bahamas for something that happened many, many decades ago?
Well, this is a question of the British government. This is not the people of the United Kingdom. The British government paid the slave owners money for the 700,000 slaves that they identified at the time of the abolition of slavery. The note was just paid off in 2015. The people who were the slaves got nothing, their descendants got nothing. So that was the British government involved. Again, this is the British government involved, not the individual citizens of Britain or residents.
The government only has money from the taxpayer, as you will well know as a foreign minister. That's where the money comes from.
Indeed, but you know, or having experience with lawyers, that you're dealing with entities. That's the way the argument goes in the courts, and ultimately that's how liability is assessed.
Foreign Minister Frederick Mitchell, Foreign Minister of the Bahamas, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to join us again after a long and busy few days at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting.
I'm obliged.
The time now is 22.
Thank you so much for your time, sir. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Save and spend ahead of the budget next